Loving Dreamforce. I love how the hustle and bustle of the city right now.
Really awesome to connect with a lot of other women in revenue.
It's bringing together the tools, the people.
That's why we're here. Yeah. New data is always coming in. This event alone, you scan in 2,000 people in a day. Are those people already in your system? Are they not? If they're not, should they be? Are we creating this? Are we converting it? What are we doing?
Having a single source of truth for data enrichment so that we provide a better book of business for our sales reps.
I want to make sure that the contacts works at the right company and that they have the right mobile phone numbers, and there are usually multiple sources for those mobile phone numbers.
Agree on where we're going to pull that information from and when we're going to refresh it and update it, and have real clarity around that process and what those sources of truth are, so that we can all be aligned and moving in the same direction.
We're not necessarily saying no to data, but like BDRs, sales leaders, you're not creating accounts as a one, you're not good at it. It's dirty. You're not good at finding dupes and subs and whatnot. But also, two, there's a conflict of interest here. Like, I get this lead, maybe it didn't match. It would if you use Traction, but if it didn't, it gets to me, and then I just, let's convert it. Let's create this account and start working it. Well, it's not your account. It should be in your territory, So we've just completely cut off that account creation. So we're not saying no to the data, but we're putting a big toll booth in front of it. So you're getting taxed to go through.
You have to be thinking about that and making sure that that data is getting in there so that we can use that and really save time for our sales team, so they're not having to give the same data to multiple different people, and we use Salesforce as the vehicle to facilitate that. Account data, all of the different data sources that we ingest into Salesforce around firmographic information, employee counts, annual revenue, keeping all of that up to date.
Building the target accounts for our AEs and our SDRs to call out on. I think the biggest challenge I see with a lot of companies and like with ourselves is finding accounts where they fit your ICP very specifically. Like for us, we have a power dialer and a virtual sales floor, so we really target companies, B2B software companies that have SDR and AE teams. So instead of pulling lists for just B2B software companies, I want to make sure that they actually have SDRs and have AEs.
But we have a lot of musical chairs, right? There are people that are staying within the organization, but they're growing, they're moving, they're switching in different segments. We have a lot of cross-functional selling, but at the same time, they're independent selling. So it's important for us to be able to know, at least for our cross-functional teams, to know what's going on with that account at the high level.
There wasn't a whole lot of data, so I think the data that we had maybe wasn't very informative or giving us the right information.
See, right now I'm using a lot of different data providers. I would love it if I could find one that just kind of did it all. I use a mix of Zoom Info to pull the accounts, and then I use tools like Clay and other resources out there to figure out whether or not they have SDRs and AEs.
One of the first kind of things like I think a CS team really needs is to have good data about the customer health. So knowing where things are going well, where you might want to grow and expand, and where things maybe are a little bit unhealthy or sick, where you need to pay some extra attention to those customers. So I think data is super important, especially in this current kind of environment where you're trying to really retain and grow your revenue. So having accurate data is super important, I think.
You don't have a tool that's helping you pull all that insight from your customers. It's very manual. Like, you can't trust your reps to write down everything they hear from a customer, everything they get in an email. You really want a tool that's going to be able to pull in, like, hey, I was on a call with the VP of sales. He's not the one that runs the BDR department, but he knows that they're doing outbound. He knows that they have to get to 5 million in pipe next quarter, or 3x their pipe next quarter. And so they give you all this detail, and you want to be able to link it back to that account so that the next time your SDR calls maybe an SDR manager or a sales director, they have all that information from that person. And so it's like linking it all in your CRM and making sure that you have a source of truth for that.
Imagine having, up to 30 or 20 or 30 records with the same email, same person.
Technical debt, if you want to call, right? Like lots of duplicate data.
Where are you going to find those activities that someone else logged against that record? It's impossible. You have to get that cleaned up.
To prepare for the new territory season, what we're really trying to do is refresh the data that we have in Salesforce so it's as accurate as it can be.
Territory planning becomes that much more complex because You know, there's some relationship aspects, not necessarily geolocation.
At Zoom, we have really complex hierarchies.
We have a lot of complex data, complex hierarchy models, trying to keep your territories together when you're selling into large enterprise organizations that have complex legal structures, tons of sub-accounts.
The process really looks at finding and making sure that we are matching our accounts to the correct company data and then refreshing it with the information that we use that drives territory alignment.
Territories and sales assignment has to be equitable, or it's not going to work. You need your sales team pulling in the right direction. Everyone has to feel like they have a fair shake, or it's going to cause conflict on the team. So that's been so important.
Lead routing, account automation, hierarchies.
So that we can really understand the visualization of what a company hierarchy structure looks like.
It's transparent. You can actually walk the sales team through how it's built and how leads are assigned equitably amongst them. And that stopped some of the initial concerns pretty quickly when they can actually see how there's no black box. They can actually see how that's working.
Putting some boundaries around when territories can be reviewed and disputed is super, super important. If you leave it open-ended and have it sort of be a blank slate for the entire year, it's never done and it's never quiet, and reps get really easily distracted by that. So I think putting a time frame, maybe a month after a new territory is launched, after the territories go live, really kind of forces the business to inspect their accounts, take some accountability for making sure they look good, and then it's speak now or forever hold your peace effectively. And then they're able to just move on and start selling, which is really all what we want with any territory cutover. I think on ops team, you sit at the crux of a lot of different processes and teams. And so it's really hard to roll out change if you don't kind of have people on board.
Tying together the revenue team with whatever happens afterwards from a customer success is the model we use, making sure everybody's in sync.
Alignment is really important. I have always focused on that through relationship building and trying to establish those kind of bonding and rapport with my internal stakeholders.
Take your time finding a good partner, someone who can help guide you with that, and good solution. There's some big players in the space. Make sure you do proper vetting. Make sure that the experience that you're going to get at the beginning of the project is also going to be carried through later after you're actually implemented, that you're going to be taken care of by a good customer service. I think that is absolutely critical because the work doesn't stop when the initial setup project stops.
It's a box of sharp knives. You can really cut yourself if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, but there's ways to optimize that experience. So I would invest some time into both that CRM, whatever you're using, and also the ecosystem of tools around that, capabilities around that you could consider.
Thank you, everyone.
Good luck in selling in 24.
It really never ends.